JamesAllen.com is the online destination to easily design a customized engagement ring and save up to 50% compared to traditional stores. You pick a diamond, whether it's lab-created or earth-created, James Allen has over 200,000 conflict-free stones. Then you pick your ring setting and metal. And if you need some help, they have real-time diamond consultations available, where an expert can walk you through it all. Get 25% off your order at JamesAllen.com, code podcast. That's JamesAllen.com, code podcast.
Your fever is high and the pressure to log in at work is too. But when you finally decide to take care of you, there's Instacart. Just because that one perfect coworker of yours is attending all meetings, camera on while she's sneezing, coughing, and aching, doesn't mean you have to do the same. Take it from us. Trying to stay on top of things will only get you further behind. Instead, get everything from tissues and teas to cough suppressants and comforting soups delivered through Instacart in as fast as 30 minutes. If anyone needs anything, they can just redirect their questions to that one perfect coworker of yours.
This is Kansas State's Felix Enudike-Uzama, and you're listening to the Power Cat Podcast on the 24/7 Sports Podcast Network. Make sure you're subscribing to this show on your favorite podcast provider.
Welcome to another edition of the Power Cat Questions Podcast. You heard in the open a little bit something different this football season. As I announced last week, we've signed an NIL deal with 3 K-State football players to give us some reads during our podcast, this podcast, the pregame and postgame. And remember to listen to those podcasts. They drop on Thursday, the pregame, and then either Sunday or Monday, depending on the game time. So probably Monday for this first edition of the postgame podcast. Tim Fitzgerald, Zach Carlson, Cole Carmody, and Ryan Gilbert right here in the GPC studio as we get ready to just jump into football season. But a couple things here I want to talk about. First of all, stay tuned for a very big sale. A very, very big sale coming.
It's live right now.
Oh, that's right.
But they're listening to it.
I'm so confused. I'm so horribly confused about what day is what.
Today is Wednesday.
The biggest sale of the year?
The listener.
Yeah, it's live. It's live. It's the biggest sale of the year, 75% off an annual subscription. Make sure you take care of this right now. Don't mess around. Don't wait. It's time to subscribe to GoPowerCat.com and get our premium coverage along with everything else we crank out on a regular basis. If you enjoyed the podcast, if you enjoyed the daily deliveries, or a lot of the free content we put out in written form, show us some love. Go ahead. 75% off an annual subscription right now at GoPowerCat, when we appreciate your support. And we appreciate the support of the Fridge Wholesale Liquor, which has been with us for a very long time and just re-upped for another year of being the title sponsor of the PowerCat Questions podcast. If you don't follow them on Twitter, they are dropping all kinds of new products that are coming out and adding to their collection of wonderful things that you can buy. Make sure you swing by there on Saturday. Don't bring your booze from home. Leave that booze. That's your special booze. That's your home booze. You need road booze from the Fridge. And stop in there on Saturday and pick up some of that game day atmosphere from the Fridge, because they have their own, like, crowler things. I don't even know how to pronounce it.
They growl?
They growl or crowl. I'm not sure who named these things, but they're a football-shaped product. Go ask them about it. I don't understand what they're doing. I'll be honest. And speaking of people wanting to subscribe to GoPowerCat.com, a very nice person reached out to me on Twitter. They were having some issues. They wanted to subscribe. And I said, shh, don't subscribe yet. Wait just a little bit, because we're going to get a really great deal. And I hope they are with us. But they wanted to ask a question, so they wanted to get into the podcast thread. So I'll just start with this. And they wanted to know about our thoughts. Is there any similarities between this team and the 2003 Big 12 championship team? A dynamic run-pass quarterback with a diminutive running back, a very good defense. I do see some similarities, actually. Now, what I hope is not similar is the fact that that was a really good K-State team that didn't look like it with its record because Al Roberson got hurt. So let's hope Adrian Martinez stays healthy throughout this season. But, Zach, do you have that feeling at all?
When you put it that way, yes. I agree with the points that you made. But from an overall season and team standpoint, I feel like 2014 is kind of the hype year for me. Not hype might be the wrong word, but just when you look at a season in the last 20 years or so that most would emulate a previous season, I think 2014. You have a transfer quarterback. Granted, Jake Waters was there for his second year, but it was kind of the culmination of a lot of careers. Tyler Lockett, Jake Waters, some other guys that it ended in a loss in the Alamo Bowl, but it kind of, 2015 kind of fell off. And then 16, it fell off after that year, and that was really the last year that K-State was in, an upper-tier bowl.
Did you say lost in the Alamo Bowl?
They lost to UCLA in the Alamo Bowl.
Didn't they kick the crap out of Michigan in that game?
That was
the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, 2013.
That was 13?
14.
I'm so confused.
The bowl was played in 2014, but it was the 13th season.
Played in 15.
Okay.
No, the Alamo Bowl was played in 15. 14 season. Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl was played in 2013.
Okay.
It was in 13.
I don't know.
So that's my pick. 2014.
I feel the 2012 vibe from this team simply based on star power. Now, you don't have the quarterback like you did in Colin Klein, but you have that guy in your star player and Deuce Vaughn on the offensive side of the ball. Then you go over to the defensive side of the ball, and the similarities between Arthur Brown and Daniel Green are spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're spot on. And then you look at the defensive line. I think Meshach Williams is a guy that K-State fans forget about a lot. But I mean, he was a stud defensive end, and I think he's right along the same lines. If not, Felix is better than he was. And so even in the secondary, they didn't have their Ty Zimmerman, but you got a guy in Julius Brents who has those preseason honors the same way that Ty Zimmerman did. So maybe not position by position, but if you want to go based off of star power, I think you have the same amount of stars on this 2022 team as you did in 2012.
But K-State won, 9-10 games in 11 the year before. I think there was, Colin Klein, Lockett, all these guys were coming back. K-State still lost a significant chunk of their pieces from last season. So I don't think K-State's necessarily ready to take that next step. I'm probably going to get blown up for saying that, but I think it's probably one. I don't know if next year's going to be any better because they're going to lose a lot again, but I'm going in circles here. I just don't think this is really that comparable to.
Well,
and a counterpoint to even me and everyone else that all of those seasons, 2003, 2012, 2014, maybe 14 to a lesser extent, but they were building on something that happened in the previous year.
Yep, exactly.
2003, you had that great 2002 team. 2012, you had that great 2011 team. So I think that this just feels. I think a lot of the hype around this season is it just feels so different because I don't think there is a true comparison. And half of it's with the transfer portal. You have so many new guys that have college experience that you can plug in, that are ready to go, and that are gonna make an impact this Saturday.
All of your stars are back, though. Besides Skylar Thompson, every single one of those guys that K-State fans circled as he is a star on this team, they're back. And so I understand they're not the building. I think they are building. That's why this season is so hyped up, is because they are building, and potentially you could improve at the quarterback position. So that's where I think that the comparisons to the Big 12 championship teams and the 2003 team, I think they're spot on because you're building. You get your best guys back in Daniel Green, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, and Deuce Vaughn. You get all those guys back. It's not like you're losing. You're not losing your stars. And if you want to say Skylar Thompson is the biggest loss, sure. But let's see how Adrian Martinez performs before we say Skylar Thompson was a major loss.
Well, my thought is that the simple fact that we want to compare this team possibly to 03 or to 12, that's a pretty high standard. So I think the only rational person at the table right now is Gilbert. Because that's a lot to say. I mean, that's a lot. If you look back at the 12 and 11, or excuse me, the 02 and 11 teams, there was a sense of a buildup to what took place the next year. And I don't know if there's that same kind of sense of forward momentum right now in the program from year to year. So this is going to be a very intriguing season for me. I'm very interested in how the season will play out. Let's get going with your questions from Wabash Station. I broke my own rules. The rule is pretty simple. Everyone gets to listen, but the subscribers to Go PowerCat get to ask the questions at Wabash Station. But if you're going to subscribe, I'll let you ask a question. I'm all in on that. Who's got the first round? Ryan Gills Gilbert. Here we go.
From CCL27, what are your biggest takeaways from the Week 1 depth chart?
They hit a home run with the safety transfers. All three of them atop the depth chart. That's incredible. This staff has done a marvelous job of picking guys through the transfer portal that serve the purpose they intend. They need help immediately at safety. Boom. We need some backup help at linebacker and running back and nose tackle, and they go find those guys. Now, they've added depth through the portal. They've added quality starters through the portal. They've done what they needed to do every time, and I'm kind of blown away by that. But I'll say this: I didn't see anything that was shockingly out of the norm. There was no big surprises there. Everyone who we expected to start is starting, and the offensive line is going to be a work in progress. As long as Andrew Langang is beaten up a little bit and not ready to go at 100%, we really won't see. I'll be just very interested to watch KT Levinson play and see if he looked totally different today.
Did you hear him say that he came into the season with 33% body fat and now he's down to 28%?
25.
Yeah.
He lost
25.
8%.
Yeah, he lost 8. That blows my mind. And KT looks like a different person.
He really did.
He looks like a completely different person. I was worried, quite frankly, about that position, but after listening to everybody that we've been around and just seeing KT and knowing the kind of skill set that he does possess, his biggest thing was he was always out of shape.
Yeah.
Like, frankly put, he was out of shape. I don't think they're going to have that problem this year. And for Chris Kleiman to say that KT Levinson can be an all-conference left tackle, it's pretty high praise. So
it's a lot.
I mean, I think the only other question mark I guess you could say on the depth chart, I think, is Will Honas not being listed due to an injury. So that'd probably be my answer. Is as far as surprises on the depth chart, but I don't know if that's much of a surprise given we kind of got to see him be out. So
I think
it does explain why they've been concerned about depth at linebacker because
Right.
he has been hurt.
most interesting to me is tight end. Everyone's equal. It's Sammy Wheeler or Ben Sinnott or Will Swanson. All three of them.
Was it or?
It's
I thought it was Wheeler was alone on top.
It goes Wheeler or Ben Sinnott or Will Swanson. They're all three equal.
Are they, though?
The only position on here
on the sheet.
Yeah,
on the sheet. I mean, I'm not saying they are. I just think it's interesting that Will Swanson has elevated himself to be listed on the depth chart.
I think that is probably a reflection of situational substitutions and using them in different ways.
Situational. Yeah.
Yep.
If they're going to go to tight end, or I think Sammy Wheeler will be the number one guy, and then it's just going to be a matter of, okay, well then are you going to? It depends if Ben Sinnott's playing fullback, right? That's something that we really haven't talked about is how are they going to use Ben Sinnott, which I will be very interested to see how that pans out. But I get that, Zach.
I would say, and this is more of a compliment to Nate Matlack, but Jalen Pickle not being a starter, just think like 2-3 years ago, like I would have bet my life that he would be a starter at this time. And he's not, but that just shows you how dangerous that defensive line can be.
No, they're going to be good. Because when you ask the coaches about young guys that have, kind of broken out so far this fall camp, Brendan Mott's mentioned, even though he's a junior, he's a guy that hasn't played a whole lot. And, you start seeing other guys along that defensive front that can really help out. They built some nice depth. That's always my concern with K-State, so I'm really impressed.
From K-Lou42, who will be the first touchdown of the season be from? Who will...
That made sense. Who's going to score the first touchdown?
Thank you. Who will the first takeaway of the season be
Does
from?
anyone have an answer other than Deuce Vaughn?
Are we betting on this?
Is this a prop bet?
Sure. We're going to have more prop bets in the next one. Next question. I'm going to go Phillip Brooks. He's going to house the first punt of the year.
Okay, I mean, if we're thinking about Caesar Sportsbook here, the real question is: do you take Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn, or the field?
Field.
That's good though.
I'd take field, just because if Martinez throws a pass, it doesn't count. So you're basically he's not going to run a touchdown, in my opinion, for his first score.
You sure?
I think he
bet
will.
against it.
I think he will. I don't
pretty
think
much-
it's going to be the first one.
I pretty much
Yeah, for
cinched
the
it
first
up.
one.
I'm taking Martinez scoring a running touchdown.
Yeah.
Because Gilbert said it won't happen.
Yep. See,
going there.
I'm thinking it'll be Deuce. There's no way it's not. If not, then I think it'll be a defensive touchdown.
Well, if it's a defensive
So
touchdown.
then that's the next part of the question. Who
Okay.
has that takeaway?
I'm going to say Josh Hayes.
I'll say Julius Brents. Pick 6.
It would be a great time for Echo Boydo to have his first interception as a K-State Wildcat, though. Isn't that remarkable to think
He
about?
doesn't have one?
He has played for 2 years and never got an interception.
That's my pick then. Echo Boydo, interception.
I'm going to go with Austin Moore, a scoop and score off of a King Felix sack.
the machine.
The machine. He did not look like a machine. Actually, it's kind of funny. He is very businesslike. He is, I don't want to say robotic, but I see where he gets the nickname the machine.
I'll tell you what, he's just too busy out there at the cider mill. You know what I mean? Those Lewisburg guys. They're out there making donuts and pumping apple cider. What can I say?
Oh, boy.
No, guys, I'm only Albert. That's what I think of. Machine.
Yeah.
From Cat and Colo, South Dakota bold predictions. We'll start off, we'll go one by one. Deuce Vaughn over under 100 rushing yards.
Over.
100%.
Over.
Easy.
I agree. You're going to Hollywood.
Maybe by halftime.
Deuce Vaughn
Realistic
over
possibility.
under 150 all-purpose yards.
Oh, over.
100, Deuce Vaughn is still going to be K-State's offense. If it would have been Deuce Vaughn over under 150 rushing yards and over under 200 all-purpose yards, I might think about it more, but I'm taking the over.
I think he's perfectly capable of it, but at what point is K-State up so far that they can sit him?
He could run for 150 yards in the first half.
That's fair.
Sorry about that.
I'll go for the over. I'll take it.
Me as well. Adrian Martinez to have 0 turnovers, yes or no? I'll say no.
No.
I'm going to say yes, because I don't think this South Dakota defense is that good. They gave up a lot of points last year, and they were a playoff team. So if they were going up against Missouri, if this question is asked against Missouri, I might think about it. But I honestly think that Adrian Martinez is going to be out by the fourth quarter. So I'm going to take yes to 0 turnovers, because I do, guys. I'll be interested to see how Adrian does these first 3 weeks of the season, because how he plays the first 3 weeks of the season is going to be indicative of the rest of the season. And if he has a good showing and does not turn the ball over, I'm going to be sold in the first 3 weeks of the season. After watching that Nebraska game, I don't know if we'll get into this at all. Fitz, I don't know how you thought about this, but all I could think about was Casey Thompson looks worse than Adrian Martinez looked when he played for Nebraska. And we've seen Casey Thompson up close and personal. So, yeah, I'm going to say that's my long way of saying 0 turnovers.
Nebraska fans used to be so knowledgeable. They really were. They understood really good football. But the fact that they now have a generation of fans that think Casey Thompson was going to be an upgrade at quarterback over Adrian Martinez is just laughable to me. The fact that some of them do cling to the idea that Adrian Martinez was the source of the problem. Look, we saw this quarterback do the same things basically the old quarterback did.
He looked worse.
I don't know, man. Nebraska's got some deep issues, and they wanted to have a quick blame, a quick fix. We're going to change the quarterback, and everything will be all right. And what's really disgusting is people in the national media fell for it. Not too many fanboys working in the media now. Just too many. Too many that are worshiping brands rather than covering football. It makes me sick.
Defensive line over under 1.5 sacks.
Over.
Yeah.
They'll have 70.
They could get 2 sacks in the first quarter.
That I might have exaggerated, and 70 might be a little bit much.
I'll go under, just for the sake of it. Just for the sake of being different.
Who gets the 1 sack?
Nate Matlack.
Okay.
Felix is goose egg.
Yes.
If Felix is
in
goose egg,
this scenario,
if
yes.
Felix is goose egged against South Dakota, I will be actually shocked. But yeah,
All right.
We'll see.
Fitz.
It's going to be over. They'll have like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I agree. Last one is Will Howard to play, yes or no?
No.
We found that out today.
So it was a point of interest to me, how they're going to manage this. So I asked Coach at the end of the press conference. I was going to have a two-part question. Do you put him out there just to, come in and play? And if it's not him, who? And he answered both questions at once by saying, look, if a helmet pops off, it's going to be someone else that goes on the field. So
Jake Rubley.
I never got to ask because he said Jake Rubley.
Yep. I believe the exact quote is if a helmet pops off, Jake Rubley's going into the game. So,
Okay, Coach, that was really efficient. He answered both questions in one swoop.
So the answer to this question, will Howard to play, would have to be no.
Now, I guess there's a scenario Adrian gets hurt.
Right.
that's the scenario, and I would say no, he's not going to get hurt in this game. He's only going to play about 2.5 quarters if everything goes right.
From Ohio Power Cat, will we see more than one quarterback against South Dakota if K-State is winning big? If so, who will it be?
It's got to be Jake.
Yeah.
I think maybe you see a guy like Adrian Lara, too.
Yeah, this is a perfect opportunity. If you get up, you could almost give Jake Rubley a full quarter and then at least let the other guys get on the field a little bit. I'm going to be intrigued by how they use the quarterbacks. But it's all predicated on the idea that they get away fast and build a big lead. And I think Colin Klein's going to want to attack. I don't think he's going to be like Bill Snyder. And let's play our cards close to the vest and be very conservative and not show anything. I think he's going to want to prove a point. He's going to want to build confidence in his system, both in the locker room and outside the locker room. I think they're going to get up big at halftime.
Were you surprised when Chris Klieman said that that they would go with Jake Rubley over Jaron Lewis?
I think it's interesting that this is the first time that it's really been cemented that Jake is the next choice after Will Howard.
So does that mean that we think Jake is number 3 on the depth chart then?
Yeah.
Has to. Well, why wouldn't you play Jaron at this point,
Unless they just feel like they know what they have with Jaron Lewis, but is that ever going to be good enough to see the field again at K-State?
But also, you've got to get Jake Rubley reps at some point. You have to let him play. He still hasn't played.
My failure was not shifting my follow-up question to being, is Jaron Lewis going to remain a quarterback? Or are you going to, maybe put him out at receiver or something else? I think he wants to play quarterback, so I'd imagine if he doesn't get on the field, he'll be in the portal. But I think he's a good athlete. I think he's a good kid. I think they would probably like to find a place for him on the team.
Last question of the first half from El Camino Cat. Pick a player on both sides of the ball that wasn't on the preseason All Big 12 team that you believe could be first team All Big 12 at the end of the year. Preseason All Big 12 was Cooper Beebe, O-lineman, Deuce Vaughn, running back, Malik Knowles, punt returner and kick returner, Felix Enedika Uzama, defensive end, Daniel Green, linebacker, Julius Brents, defensive back.
Defensively, I'm going to go Josh Hayes. I think he has just some natural qualities about him. Very impressive. Now at safety, I think is probably a better fit for him. On the offensive line, I'm going to go Taylor Poitier. I think he's.
You stole my pick.
I think he's going to just people sleeping on him. They I did a podcast or maybe it was Sirius XM. They asked me about the offensive line. I said nobody's talking about this kid. He was going to be a starter last year and blew out a knee and is back to 100% and playing. I don't know if I would answer the same thing prior to Tuesday's press conference when he walked in the room and he was like a brick pizza oven walking around the room. This kid is thick, solid, impressive. He's not fat, but he's not skinny. My goodness. He's talking about he got back to squatting 3 reps of 500 pounds. Yeah. And I wanted to tell him, well, I could do that. Well, not 500 pounds. I could do 3 squats without any weight. I think. I don't actually know. I couldn't. Never mind. He was, oh my gosh.
Impressive.
I'm looking forward to seeing him. I think this line's going to be really good, guys.
I'm going to keep it simple and just give it to Adrian Martinez. He balls out, and that probably makes the most sense on
Good
offense
choice,
for
yeah.
me. If he plays good, I think he's got it. And on defense, I'm with you. I'll go Hayes.
Okay.
I'll go Nate Malak on defense. Huh? I'm going to go Phillip Brooks to replace Malik Knowles in that punt return, kick return slot.
Nice.
So
a little bit of a cheap answer, but Malik Knowles was included in the preseason.
Nice.
So
the last 2 seasons, the number 2 leading receiver at Nebraska was Austin Allen. Austin Allen was a tight end. I'm going to take Sammy Wheeler on the offensive side of the football.
I thought you said you were taking.
I was going to take Taylor Poitier.
He's trying to be unique.
Yeah, and after doing some exhaustive research that required 2 Google searches, I do feel like Adrian Martinez is going to use the tight end.
Whoa. You did back-to-back Google searches?
I somehow.
That's not permitted on this podcast.
Well, I guess we're not allowed
We don't
to
do
use
that kind of
technology.
research.
So, Sammy Wheeler is my answer on offense. And on defense, how about Eli Huggins?
I know. I almost went with Eli. I'm telling you what, the mustache game on this team is pretty strong.
How about Hayden Gillum saying that he had been ghosting Culvers and not actually not responding to them? They offered him an NIL. He's like, I haven't gotten back to him yet.
Unbelievable.
His priorities are football. He loves Culver's. Priorities are football.
So, in other words, there needs to be a Culver's in Manhattan.
that would
what I'm
probably
hearing.
help
I would
things.
love that.
I actually would too.
Or he read the email and it said, "We don't want you," and he hadn't responded. But how
He's just
could you
being
not?
polite.
That adorable face and that mustache, that'll sell some burgers. It's like a happy child that's a grown-ass man. Oh, man. I had Culver's the other day. I don't want an NIL. That's all I'm going to say. That's it for the first half of this PowerCat Questions podcast. We're sponsored by The Fridge. Now, get ready. Here comes some more new voices we've added to the podcast.
This is Kansas State's Cooper Beebe. The leaders in K-State sports coverage will be right back with more of the PowerCat podcast.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is Kansas State's Daniel Green, and welcome back to the PowerCat podcast on the 24/7 Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the PowerCat Questions Podcast. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you following along. GoPowerCat.com, whether it's with the podcast, at the website, on YouTube with the daily deliveries and all the videos that Zach does from the players and coaches. And, of course, the Friday walkthrough. I forgot to mention that earlier. Cole Carmody and Monty Spiller now doing a Friday prep video product for you that also appears in our podcast feed. Doing a lot of cool stuff at Go PowerCat. We would appreciate your support. 75% off an annual subscription right now at Go PowerCat. Don't mess around. Get that done for heaven's sakes, or for your sake, for our sake, for everyone's sake. Subscribe. I got that got a cold voice. How you doing, guys? That kind of voice. Kind of sexy, Zach. We're sponsored by The Fridge. They're always sexy. Oh, man, I love that place. Look, I'm not a person that likes to hang out in liquor stores and, just kind of walk around and look at all the products. I typically go in there like SEAL Team 6, and I strike quickly. I get what I want, and I get out.
SEAL Team 6-pack?
Ooh, like it. And but I will go to The Fridge and just kind of wander around the vodka aisle because Kevin does a great job finding unique flavored vodkas, and then head over to the bourbon and Canadian whiskey. Kind of got a little Canadian whiskey thing too. Mostly a bourbon guy, not a Scotch guy, but I married a Scotch gal who drinks Scotch a lot, so I have to go over there and look a little bit.
She's Scottish?
She has expensive taste. It's ironic. She's got expensive taste in liquor and cheap taste in men. And now here's your questions from Wabash Station, Cole Carmody.
First question of the second half comes from I Like Pickles Cat. Can we get an update on street closures / construction?
It's all closed.
And or other things to be aware of that will be different on game days from last year?
Everything is closed. You're going to have to basically either helicopter in, or I would suggest just parachute in for the game. Like, you can be part of the pregame show and just drop in. If you can hit your seat, you'll get a free Hayden Gillum Culver's burger.
You'll get free beer. It'll be a game in Ireland.
I like it. Yeah.
That was wild.
Zach, that was ill-advised. Even the Irish went, oh, hell, the people from Nebraska are worse than us. And then go run through some of this.
So there's some construction on I-70 eastbound at Junction City, so that's going to be a backup there. If you're coming from I-70 through Topeka, you're going to take a detour there. Go around. Take 470
go south.
around.
I'm pretty sure it routes you.
I-70.
I'm pretty sure it routes you to go around if you use GPS.
You need to use your GPS.
Well, here's what's funny about the GPS is I've actually checked this because I do this drive a lot, and it's like 1 minute more to take the southern route. So I just do it sometimes just to have, I don't have to go through downtown Topeka. But now with the bridge problems, just run south around. Do it every time, basically.
If you're coming from Council Grove,
you're not.
Don't.
You're not. You have to go all the way over.
You have to go over to Junction City, which is another, traffic that I just previously mentioned.
You avoid one closure to find a narrowing of lanes. Great.
Kimball is still closed.
So once you get into town, the traffic is not over.
Kimball is still
will be
closed
open
by
in front of the arena.
Yeah,
stadium.
In front of the stadium it'll be open, so you can traverse Kimball to get to your lots. But if you're trying to take Kimball from Tuttle Creek to Denison, that's still closed. I think it's going to be closed another 3 or 4 months probably.
I thought the plan was to open 2 lanes. That might be partially open on Saturday. I'm not sure. There's been rumors that they're going to get 2 lanes open and it'll change directions at halftime.
The plan is to be open by the 2-lane game for 2 lanes.
Oh. Is that a pun? Is that a pun or is that an actual statement?
That was good.
I think it's just a pun. He's looking at me like it's just a pun.
That was just a pun? Because that would be actually
it's
really
not
cool.
Scoop, it's a pun.
So there's a chance you might have to go all the way north on Tuttle Creek to Marlette and come back in.
Yep.
Which is a pain in the butt.
I still think that's part of the exit pattern, though.
And keep in mind, gates have shifted, folks. The first gate on College is gone. Doesn't
Gate 1
exist
is
anymore.
gone. You have to go to Gate 3 or Gate 5.
So, in other words, get here early.
Yeah, don't mess around. It's a night game. It's going to be warm, but not unbearable hot. Get here early.
Come on Friday.
That's a good plan.
And guess what? If you decide to go to Aggieville on Friday, there's construction down there too. So we might as well talk about that.
Are there hotels still available for people to just come on a whim?
No, I was going to say Cole and Gills got. They live in Morrow, a couple blocks away. They have a couch.
Come on over.
Couch. If anybody needs a place to stay, I'm not going to offer it up, but
bring a blacklight.
Yeah.
Fitz has a guest bedroom here.
No, not really right now. I'm sleeping in it.
Actually,
I'm in quarantine.
Oh, great.
And then it's great we're all around you.
I don't have COVID. My wife was getting ready to go on a trip, so I couldn't get her sick.
I will say Aggieville literally looks like that old picture that's up in the studio here with the dirt and everything flying up. It's terrible.
Aggieville's a mess.
It's terrible.
Now, folks, if you do go to Aggieville, the good news is the parking garage is open, but you have to come at it from the west, like by the Burger King, and come in that way to get to it. But it is... Zach will tell you, it's glorious. It's really
fantastic.
Nice. It's fantastic. I went to a country concert on that side of town last Friday. It was fantastic. Park in the garage, across the street, in the hat you go, music.
It's the best parking garage in all of Aggieville.
It is. It is the finest parking garage. Well, I'm going to say in Manhattan because the one nobody uses, the one downtown that they built. Most asinine thing ever. But yeah, everything's under construction, including your hopes and dreams. So just plan ahead. Don't mess around. Don't worry about the booze. Just pick it up at the fridge. Head over the lot. You're going to be fine. Plan ahead. And if I see you on if I see you on Dickens walking towards college, I will offer you a ride as I head up to the stadium.
There we go.
I'm just that kind of guy.
Next question comes from Doug142. He is not a new member, but Zach says he can't remember him being on the podcast.
I don't remember it being on ever.
So... Doug, welcome to the podcast. Hopefully you don't get lost in Las Vegas here anytime soon. If the goal is for K-State to reach the Big 12 title game this season, what are some key indicators fans can look for as a good or bad signs during non-conference play?
Well, defensively, can they get them consistently off the field on third down? Whether that's third and short or third and long in which they can attack with that pass rush. Get them off the field. Are special teams as sharp as they need to be? Because that is a winning formula for K-State. You can't be successful at the highest levels at K-State without being excellent at special teams. And I think Adrian Martinez just has to prove quickly that he's the dude. This isn't the Nebraska. This isn't 2 a.m. This is 9 a.m. This is a different guy. And from everything we're hearing, it appears that way, but you just don't know till the bullets are flying. And let's be honest, Deuce has got to stay healthy. Both Deuces have to stay healthy, Vaughn and Green, because there's no equivalent even anywhere close. Your replacement players are solid, good, reliable, but not the spectacular playmakers of the double Deuces.
I'm going to say margin of victory against Mizzou. How much do they win by against Mizzou is the key indicator for me.
What's successful?
Because if they win by a lot, let's say three touchdowns. I think that 3 touchdowns or more, I think you can feel pretty good about yourself. And hopefully that 3 touchdowns isn't like, 63 to 42. That the defense comes in and takes care of business, keeps a low score there.
Like it's 35-14.
But if K-State struggles there, I think, Mizzou obviously isn't the best of the best in the SEC. So they're playing down a little bit, and it's not necessarily you don't get the full benefit of playing an SEC team when you're playing Mizzou. Plus, a lot of that comes into they were an old conference opponent, 10 years ago. But if you win that game and you're able to beat your Power 5 non-conference opponent by a significant margin, I think that spells great things for the rest of the season.
So you're saying if that game looks like K-State looked like against Nevada, you would be happy?
Yeah.
K-State was pretty iffy until the end of that Nevada game, though.
They were. The final score was 38-17.
You need to be a little better than that, probably.
Because, see, I could make the argument that, and I'm going to talk about this here in a second, but, like, for that Mizzou game, I feel like 3 touchdowns is a lot. If you win by 17, I would be okay with that. Like,
it's one thing to be okay with it. I'm just saying if they are thorough and they win by 3 touchdowns, I think that's enough.
I think there's a difference between, quite frankly, kicking somebody's ass, excuse me, and beating somebody, right? So you can physically manhandle a team and win by 2 touchdowns. Like that. That's possible. Like a 2-touchdown win can be more dominant than a 3-touchdown win. So I feel like if you are in control of the game the entire time, to me that's what matters, right? It doesn't matter if you win by 21 or if you win by 14. If they score a touchdown in garbage time with 4 minutes left in the game and you're trying to get your second string guys reps, like to me,
how many games are you putting your second stringers out there up only 21?
I mean, if it's in the fourth quarter, I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility. But I want to talk about this because for Game 1, this is really what I know a lot of people have been talking about on the boards. And I didn't bother typing anything out because I wanted to talk about it here. There's been talk of, you need to beat South Dakota by a certain amount of points if you want to be elite. You have to beat FCS teams by 5-6 touchdowns if you truly want to be an elite team. And like I just said, I think that's absolutely, completely ludicrous. You do not have a certain amount of points that you have to beat a team by in order for your season to get off on the right track.
And that's why I picked the Mizzou game.
Yeah, there's no correlation with the FCS. And for people to even be talking about that, let's have a real game to talk about, because these hypothetical situations were driving me absolutely crazy when I'm sitting there reading it. It's ridiculous. I love all you guys for having this debate, but it doesn't matter. Yes, Missouri, I'll give you that. That's a good indicator.
I think it's pretty cut and dry. Martinez can't turn the ball over in the non-conference play. If K-State turns the ball over, if Martinez turns the ball over, they're not going to really compete for a Big 12 championship. They're just not. I don't care what they do in the Mizzou game, South Dakota game, any of the scores, stats. Martinez cannot turn the ball over.
So he has to look like a different quarterback than he did against Nebraska.
Definitely.
Sorry about that. I would like to point out, to get back to your point about the FCS opponents, K-State won 10 games in 2011, including opening the season by beating Eastern Kentucky 10-7. So,
thank you.
Yeah, it just look, you can, and honestly, this is one of the things I'm interested in. That was driven by the fact Coach Snyder got so conservative as he got older in every way, but particularly with those non-conference games. He didn't want to show anything. Didn't want to put anything. We're both just coughing and dying. I think I got the cold from Cole, and now we're like coughing back and forth while each other's talking. I think that was just, he was so conservative, and how will Colin Klein react to that? Because his former head coach and play callers were very conservative in these games. Look, I feel like you got to beat Missouri definitively to really feel good about yourself, and I feel so strongly about this. And keep in mind, the last time K-State and Missouri played, if my math is right, you guys were in junior high or 6th grade or somewhere around there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was in 7th grade.
So it's been a while, and I'm kind of the feeling that when you K-State fans tweet out Cats by 90, I will ask you, why are you so pessimistic about this game? Cats by 90 isn't enough for me. 91's not even satisfying.
How about 92?
Okay. I prefer 3 figures, but I know that's asking a lot. It's Missouri, though.
Next question comes from Wildcat Pilot 88. Would you rather K-State make it into the college football playoff if you knew they would lose, or play in a New Year's Six game that was a toss-up?
Yes.
College football playoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing, and this is what I've been saying. The expansion of the playoff doesn't mean it really gives a school such as Kansas State that might sneak in as an 8 seed a tangible chance to win the national title. But it changes the value of your season dramatically to be able to say, we made, let's take Iowa State. Let's take Iowa State that's been in some nice New Year's Six bowls recently. Played, Clemson last year. They wouldn't have been in last year, but, they've gotten into some decent bowl games. What would it have meant for their program if they gotten in the playoffs? Even if it was a 12-team playoff and they were the 11th seed, I don't care about the seeding. You're in the playoff. And that's what I like about the expansion of the playoff is it expands the opportunity for elite status or, more tangible elite status. It's one thing to say we made it to a New Year's Six, and it's just, okay, yeah, it's a nice bowl game. Yeah.
So if it's a toss-up, yes. Now, if the question was if the New Year's Six was a guaranteed win, I think it becomes a little more, of an argument. Play Alabama in a 1-4 game, and you're the 4 seed.
Look at Cincinnati.
Or, yeah.
Cincinnati. It changed everything.
It's true.
And the same would hold true for everyone else in the new 12. Everyone. Oklahoma State, Baylor, K-State, Iowa State, Texas Tech, I don't care who it is, Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, everyone coming into the conference, BYU, you make it into the field of 4 or even 12, it changes everything. And if the Big 12 starts putting 2 teams into the 12, you're talking about status now that is undeniable.
So as much as I hate talking about 2012, I do want to go back to that season because Notre Dame made the championship game that year, right? We all remember this. Do you think they would have rather made it to the championship game and lost a national title game or played in a Sugar Bowl and won, right? I mean, no, you go to the national championship game. You go to the college football playoff 100 times.
You're going to die.
Out of 100. Yes, I am. Now I'm laughing.
If you can guarantee yourself a nice Orange Bowl trophy, though.
Well, if it's filled with oranges, Colin, I would like that.
I feel like you would.
And if
right
that's
now.
the only success you have for the next 15 years in football.
Just so what? We'll take it.
Nice.
Just making it the playoff, though, that puts you on the map.
Yeah.
That's so far and above any New Year's Six bowl. So I don't care if you lose by 90 like Oklahoma's consistently done in the playoff. You want to make it there and get yourself on that stage.
And you have more recognition, like you've talked about. I mean, if you make a playoff once, they're more likely to select you if you go back, if you have the exact same season, because, hey, guess what? They've been here. So, yeah.
Any Final Four program, even if they got blown out in the semifinals, they're still a Final Four program in basketball. So it's very important.
Yep. Next question comes from Itaim Bibi. Unlike Bill Snyder, Chris Kleiman is a defensive coach, yet he seems to be recognized as a coach who develops quarterbacks. Is he a secretly disguised coach of the offensive mind?
Well, what I think the advantage of a defensive coach is the fact that you can then go into a quarterback room and say, this is what we're trying to do to you as a defense. And this is the look they're going to give you. This is what they're actually doing. You can kind of give him an insight in how a defense is approaching his game. So I think that's an advantage. But I do think they're very similar in the fact that they're both absolutely brilliant on one side of the ball, but they understand the complete game, but they let their coordinators on that other side of the ball do their job. You know, he doesn't like take control of the offense. He didn't last year. Maybe he needed to. But I think he'll just let Colin Klein do his thing over there. But he can teach a quarterback, this is what they're doing. This is the looks they're giving you. And so I think his strength probably is in the film room more than anything else.
So you guys know Matt Patricia. He used to be the head coach of the Lions. He now coaches for the Patriots, where he started. Right. He was the defensive coordinator with the Patriots, which got him the job in Detroit. He's now calling plays for the offense in New England.
That's interesting.
And the reasoning behind it is
exactly what I thought. Yeah,
he was a defensive coach, so he knows what is going on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah,
I think there's something to that, and I also think it's just, you know what, when you're a good leader of men, you tend to help raise good leaders of men, and I think Chris Kleiman fits that boat.
Does he still look homeless?
Yeah, he definitely does.
There's a certain point. And it's probably at the Division I college football game where if you're an assistant football coach, you have enough mental capacity to be a head coach at some point, I think. I think you understand the game intimately enough that you can call plays, offense, defense, doesn't matter, scheme, whatever. I think that a Division I assistant football coach has the capabilities of doing anything on the football field.
I think you can make that argument about I think you can make that argument about some top-tier high school programs. I think you can make that argument about other smaller universities. I mean, the line between schematically being a good coach and not that, like, most coaches are insanely talented schematically. Like, if you're a coach, you're there for a reason. It's because you know your stuff. Now the difference is, how good of a teacher are you? How good of a instructor are you? How good of a leader are you? That's what really is the difference between high level coaches and not high level coaches. I'll die on that hill. And I mean, if you're a coach at K-State, at Oklahoma, at KU, there's not that big of a difference, except for the fact that one coach knows how to get the best out of his players and the other one doesn't. That's the bottom line.
I'll correct one thing. If you're an offensive coach, you by trade understand defense. Mm-hmm. And if you're a defensive coach, by trade you understand offense. If you're a special teams coach by trade, you know how to kick a ball. That's
interesting.
Exactly what I would say right there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fine line between drinking wine and squashing grapes.
My God, he doesn't say much.
Wow.
But
just puns and
just swoops in
metaphors and parables.
I'm on one today.
I don't even know what a parable is.
And we're just over here trying to get the train out of the station.
There we go. What's a parable? Is it like when you have fish, you should parable it with white wine?
Last question of the podcast comes from Big Sam. This is a good question.
Okay.
You'll like this.
It better be. You promised it is.
When Scott Frost is fired, and he will be fired, will Chris Kleiman be on the short list of candidates for the new head coach?
So this is exactly how a Nebraska fan thinks. Scott Frost, they finally figured it out. It was him. They suspect it's him, but they got to blame Adrian one more time. They blamed Adrian. Adrian comes down to Manhattan, leads Kansas State to the Big 12 title game, limits his turnovers, looks like a different player. They hire the guy that fixed him. They'll come after him, no doubt. And you know what? I don't think he'd go. I mean, they might be able to pay him enough to get him to go, but I don't think he has interest in that. And understanding the way those fans have treated other head coaches, 9 wins isn't enough, so you're fired. I just saw a great stat. If Scott Frost wins his next 50 games, straight 50 games, he'll still have a lower winning percentage than Bo Pelini did when he got fired.
Incredible.
How is that even possible? That's unbelievable. Now, Bo Pelini shouldn't have been. I agreed with that firing. He was a horrible human being.
See, you can win 9 games, but if you're a bad human being, you don't deserve to coach.
The Pelini brothers are crap. But, they will. They will.
It depends how much money they throw at him, I think, is how he would entertain it. Because if it's life-changing money...
Yeah, you got to.
You can't turn it down.
You got to.
It will be fascinating because he fits the motto, I think, of what they're going to go after. I mean, they're going to try...
Well, he's an upper Midwest guy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're going to try and get to their roots because whatever they've tried to do with all these splash hires... They go out and they get all these different kinds of coaches. They go out, they get the hot commodity. They go out and then they get the hometown, alma mater legend. They're going to try and stick to their roots now. And
now the argument against them coming to Kleiman would be there's still a great fan up there that couldn't fathom possibly hiring a football coach away from Kansas State. It seems unthinkable. And in the big scheme of things, it is kind of strange.
Well, there's also a group of K-State fans that would never have imagined bringing a quarterback from Nebraska down to K-State, too.
Very true. Very true. Look, if Iowa State's good, Matt Campbell's going to be on the list. If KU wins 4 games, Lance Leipold will be on the list. I think he's a really good coach. I'm not sure he's fit for Nebraska. I think he's a guy that does a lot with a little. I think he's probably best. I don't say he's going to do a better job at Kansas, but he's better suited for that type of job. I mean, there's a lot of coaches in the Big 12 that they will come after if they feel like that guy can lead them to the success. Mike Gundy, they might go after him. You just don't know. Point being is the irony of them coming to hire a Big 12 coach to save their program after they went to the Big 10 is so fulfilling. It makes me happy. Watching, look, in general, Nebraska fans are great, but every fan base has these trash fans. And now we're into this new generation of Nebraska fans that aren't so classy. And watching them wiggle and suffer and struggle with this is just poetic. You guys have been spoiled, taking it for granted, thought it was your natural right to be good in football. And you thought it was all solved again.
And they don't like being called idiots.
Even in they're idiots. Total idiots.
If this was any time longer or more than 15 years ago, I think Kleiman would probably get up and go. But Nebraska football is just
right.
It's laughable now what they've become.
Is it a hot take to say that the KU job is a better job right now than the Nebraska job?
That's a hot take. Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I'd be licking my lips. You get to take over, and that's what you would embrace as a coach. Nebraska.
There's no expectations at KU.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree
and
with
they've
that.
had virtually the same amount of success. Now, are the resources at Nebraska better? Yes. But, I mean, if we're comparing those two jobs, I think you would, as a coach in the new Big 12, there's a better opportunity for success at KU than there is for success at Nebraska.
Well, I would like to congratulate KU I mean, Bill Self showed what you can do when you go out and recruit a bunch of shooters. So football tried to do the same. That's it for the podcast. That's it. We're done. We're going to shut it off now. And I'm going to go have a little sip of bourbon for medicinal and celebratory purposes. We'll talk to you next week on this podcast. But again, we'll be dropping the pregame podcast. Then we got the Friday walkthrough, and then the postgame podcast, and then the drive will be in there, the replay of my TV show that's on Sunday nights out at Topeka. We appreciate you listening, and we appreciate you subscribing. Don't forget, right now, go subscribe. You're not going to get a better deal at Go Power Cat, and you're not going to find better coverage than what you find on the 24/7 Sports Network. Our team is absolutely amazing. In the near future, we will have a TV channel. Not us, personally, 24/7. The vision of being part of the CBS Sports family is absolutely incredible, and we'd like you to come join us at Go Power Cat.
Thank you for listening to the Power Cat Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Power Cat Podcast, all rights reserved, gopowercat.com.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.